If you're looking for a quick and easy embroidery project, how about socks? You can put small designs on socks with any embroidery machine, but they can be tricky to hoop, so let me show you some techniques to make socks easier to machine embroider. Hey folks, I'm Lucy at Ballyhoo Creations, where I design dolls, plushies, and puppets that you can stitch with your embroidery machine or sewing machine. I've never really thought about embroidered socks before until last year. I was making sock puppets and sock monsters, and I stitched a lot of socks, and I realized it's a thing. By the way, you can get this free sock monster design to make in the hoop of your embroidery machine by joining my email list, and I'll link that in the video description box. But that is not the kind of sock embroidery I'm going to show you today. Let's put some cute designs on our socks. This is going to be a quick video because sock embroidery is not that complicated. I'm going to show you how to choose sock designs, how to deal with stretchiness of socks, and how to hoop them, including the use of a sock hooping aid. Since socks are small, there is not a lot of real estate to put a design on it. That means we need to find small designs for socks. Something smaller than 2 by 2 inches is ideal. Even 1-inch design or motif will work nicely. Keep in mind that the stitches will prevent the sock from stretching, and if the design is too big, you might not be able to pull the sock over your foot, so keep it small. If you have software that can resize designs and change the density, you might be able to shrink a normal size design, but there's a catch to that because some designs are just too detailed, and when you shrink them down, they just won't look good on a sock. So choose a simple design. Monograms are popular, as well as little motifs like flowers, happy faces, little animals. You get the picture. I will link in the description box to a few places where I've found some cute mini designs, or you can search online for mini or micro machine embroidery designs and find some sources that way. For our socks, it is best to use a medium cutaway stabilizer underneath your sock. A tearaway might rip before you finish the stitch out, and having a little bit of cutaway inside the sock shouldn't be too irritating when it's worn anyway. Some socks have spandex in them, and when the needle hits that, it might try to punch through your stabilizer, so you got to use a substantial stabilizer under your sock, like a medium cutaway. I know it seems like overkill for this tiny little design, but it can save you problems later on. I suggest using a film topper, such as a water-soluble film or a heat-away film, to prevent your stitches from sinking into the sock. It will look nicer when you're done if you use that film topper. As for needles, you can probably get away with using your plain old 7511 embroidery needle. That's what I'm using on all of the projects I've done for this video. But if you're having problems like skipped stitches, you might need to switch over to a ballpoint or a stretch needle. It depends on your sock and how nicely it plays with your particular machine. As far as where to place your design, you're probably going to want it near the cuff or the top of the sock and on the outside part of the leg or ankle. There's really no rules here. Put it where you want it, but try to at least match it up if you're doing a pair of socks. I'm going to mark both socks where I want the center of my design to be. Decide your design placement on one sock and then mark the center. Then pair them up and stick a pin through the center mark to find the center of the second sock. Just like in the beanie video, you can stretch the sock to the size it will be when you're wearing it, and then slap a piece of packing tape over the design area. That will help to avoid puckering and keep the sock at the right amount of stretch when you're stitching on it. But this time I've got this print and stick target paper that Dime sent me to share with you. And not only will it hold my sock in the stretched position like tape, but it also shows me exactly where my design will be. So this is really cool for socks. It does double duty for design placement and getting a clean and flat design. We just have to remember to remove that sticker before we start stitching. And this sticky target paper is sticky enough that I can use it on a couple of socks before it loses its stickiness. Now comes the hard part. How the heck do you hoop a sock? Let me share a couple of ways, and you can decide what will work best for you and your machine and your budget. And I'll save the best and easiest part for last, of course. I always save the best for last. For any of these methods, you should always trace the design on your machine where the needle traces out where it's going to stitch. And I'll explain that in a bit. I just feel like it needs to be said a couple of times, so I'm going to say it here and I'm going to say it again later because it's that important. If you have a free arm machine, like a multi-needle or one of the single needle free arms, you can try the smallest hoop that you have, or even the smaller metal fast frames or easy frames. Just use pins or clips to hold the back of the sock out of the way. If your sock is big enough, it might fit over the hoop and your embroidery free arm, but most socks would get distorted and stretched too much with that method. So just pull the extra back part out of the way and pin or clip it out of the sewing field if you need to. For any embroidery machine, you can hoop your stabilizer and use adhesive plus pins to hold your sock in place. I've got my regular 4x4 hoop here with some stabilizer already hooped in it, and I've sprayed it with some sticky spray. And then I turn my sock inside out and lay it down on that stabilizer. First I'll pin the top 2 corners, then I'll pull that cuff out of the way to expose the stitch area and pin those corners to the stabilizer as well. You probably should use the pin trick to make sure you have pins around your stabilizer between the 2 frames of the hoop to make sure that you don't pull anything out of place when you're pinning. When you put the hooped sock on your machine, you may need to reposition the center using your machine's menu. Just move it around to the needles in the center and then trace the design to make sure it will fit. All machines can do a trace, just check your manual or search the internet if you're not sure how your machine does it. That way you can be sure the design will stitch where you want it and not over those pins, which will break your needle, or on the sock and stitch the layers of the sock together. That's not what we want. Once you're sure that your area is clear, you can go ahead and stitch your design. But I absolutely don't like stitching with pins inside the hoop. Even when you've checked and everything seems okay, you never know when maybe your hoop gets bumped or a bird's nest happens when you're not looking and the hoop gets misaligned and hits a pin. When I did this on the Poolin machine, it, like a lot of other machines, when it trims the thread, the needle jumps out of the way and then comes back, and that dislodged one of the pins, pulled it into the sewing field, and luckily I was babysitting, which is what you should be doing, is keeping a very close eye on your machine when you're doing this. But I stopped the machine immediately and nothing bad happened. But if I had not been watching it, I would have been stitching over those pins. That's why I don't love the pin method. It's a little more finicky. So let me show you that better way to embroider a sock that avoids all of that pin taping sticky stuff. You just need to get something called a sock hooping aid. There are several different styles of sock hooping aids. Some are metal, some are plastic. The ones that I'm going to use today is a plastic one from an Etsy seller called 3D Sassy, and they make these to fit several different machines. I'm actually testing this one here that fits the Brother and Babylock free arm machines, so hopefully she'll have it for sale on her Etsy shop pretty soon because I've used it several times now and it works great. I can also tell you that the one that she has for the Brother flatbed machines also fits my Poolin the 05 machine. So both of those were working on my machines. To use these, you turn the sock inside out and then you feed the sock through this bottom slit and hook it up at the top. Then you pull the sock open and hook down at the 2 bottom hooks. This can be very easy with some socks and a little more fickle with other socks. Kind of going to speed through and you can see how it's kind of like whack-a-mole. It takes a little practice to get the sock hooped, but once you get the technique down, it's not that bad. And that's it. This sock is ready for the hoop. On a flatbed machine, this sock aid will actually act like your inner hoop ring. So you put your stabilizer over the outer hoop, then put this hooping aid in there, matching up the arrow on the top, and tighten your hoop screw to hold it in place so it acts like your inner ring. On the Babylock and Brother free arm machines, and this is the one that we're still testing so far, but it's been working great. This one has a soft frame, so it friction fits into your inner hoop. That's the part of the hoop that has the metal arms on it. And you can hoop your stabilizer, then just push this sock hooping aid all the way down inside your inner hoop. Just push it and seat it nicely. Then just pull that extra sock out of the way as much as you can. You can use clips if you need to. And don't forget to remove your sticker or template and use the film topper. It really helps with socks. Put this on your machine and center your design. Then use your machine's trace function to be sure your design fits inside the area. This method works whether you're on a single needle, multi-needle, flatbed, free arm. These work. If your design doesn't fit inside that hooping aid, you're probably using a design that's too big and your sock is not going to stretch over your foot when you try to put it on. So go back to the beginning of this video where I told you to choose a smaller design. There are other hooping aids out there that they don't necessarily need to fit your hoop. They just hold the sock open and then you need to attach it to your stabilizer with pins or something. I haven't tried those, but I am liking these 3D printed hooping aids from 3D Sassy. So I'll link in the description box to these. No affiliate link or anything like that. I will ask her for a coupon code, so that maybe that'll be in the description box and you can check that out too. Not getting paid to do a video for her, but she sent me these for free to test them out, and I liked them enough that I wanted to share it. All right, so that is how you can machine embroider socks. We talked about how to choose designs, what supplies you're going to need, and I gave you 4 different methods for hooping a sock. There were 2 for the free arm machines only, the using your smallest hoop or using the metal frame, and then there were 2 that fit any machine. One is pinning it to your stabilizer and the other is using a sock hooping aid. Now's the time for me to stop talking. It's your turn. Leave a comment, tell me what kind of design you would put on a sock. I had a hard time picking designs. Have you tried socks before? Do you use a hooping aid? Do you just use pins? What method do you use? Do you have any other tips to share about sock embroidery? If you do, feel free to share that in the comments section. Don't forget to check the video description box for links to the things I used in this video, and go grab your free sock monster design too. I'll see you later, folks.